Yeah, I think that Daniel is, knows as much as anyone in the world, including myself, that's one we're going to carry with us a long time. Generally, as a coach, even going back to my prior experiences as special teams, you kind of wash away the ones that were non-effective, or even the ones that were positive for you, and those ones are ones that stick with you, and that's probably the ultimate one I've ever seen. Daniel knows it. Will knows it too. Will had a couple of opportunities earlier in the game that we had a couple low line drives. We had one 7-yard punt. So both of those guys know and understand that the whole team's counting on them. The difference with the specialists, you can look at it any way you want, whether it's the punter or the kicker. Those guys get limited opportunities to get their job done. There may be a guy playing on offensive defense. He may play 70 plays in a game. He had 2 major errors on the first 2, and then 68 plays that played pretty good, and he walks out of there going, I had a pretty good game. One shot with the specialists, whether it's a missed field goal, a missed punt, a bad snap, whatever it might be, and then that's a death blow to the game. It changes the game and alters the game completely. So I think those guys know and understand what happened and what we need going forward, and how we need to operate at that position.
How does what you've seen in practice from those punters square with what you saw on Saturday night?
I think that you practice just like any position, right, to be able to go out there. I look at it, it's like training, right? So Bill Parcells he always talked about it, reading his books and hearing his stories, talked about boxing and how that was, like a little microcosm of society that he could study and see work, right? So same thing when you're kind of working towards what we're working towards in football, and I do the same outlook with the outside backers as I do with the specialists. You're going out there on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you're training to get your goal on Saturday. So whether you're working a new technique or working a kick or working on your technique or kick, you're training yourself, you're training your body, you're training your muscle memory to go ahead and be able to execute on Saturday. So all of a sudden the lights are on and the crowd is out there and everybody's watching and it counts and they're keeping score. You got to be able to go out and do your job and fulfill it. So that's what you're working towards while you're in training, while you're in practice. There are, just like anybody, I don't think that, the great players in any sport of our generation, will miss a shot or miss a putt or, things like that. And they are going to find a way to try to correct it and be able to be successful moving forward. So these guys got to do the same thing. Connor had nowhere to hide, nowhere to run to after the first, couple bad games by him, and has to go back to work and train and get himself where he can go ahead and operate. Same thing with these guys.
How much are you able to do live work where you're doing a live rush on a field goal or a punt in practice?
Yeah, I don't know that really you live anything outside of training camp. Now we give pressure, we give full speed looks. It's not tackle to the ground live, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. But when we train, everything is full speed. We're going against our scout team. We'll full pressure looks where we bring 10 rushers where those guys got to operate, get their timing down, get their kicks off, and all that kind of stuff. So that's a huge part of it, and we got to continue to put pressure on those guys, find different ways to put pressure on them, make it as game-like as possible during the practices. I think with every single position on the team, that's important. Whether you're the quarterback or the kicker, the punter, or whatever it is, you got to be able to prepare like it's the game and go out there and when it is the game, be able to go ahead and accomplish your goals.
Did it look like Daniel on the punt at the end was able to get his full rugby style step? I mean, they kind of had a rush coming in from that right side. Was he able to get comfortable in his steps before he kicked that?
Yeah, I don't think the rush was any different than the previous 2 rugby style kicks that we had. We had guys coming off the edge. There was both. The 2 prior ones, they had a very similar. Most guys do it anytime there's a three-bear or three-shield punt operation, usually there's someone forcing the kick off the outside edge. That's something that we knew those guys were doing. That goes all the way back to the beginning of the season. You watch them against even, I have it fresh in my brain against Miami from last week. They were doing the same exact thing. They had the same exact pressure. You see on the one that was down at the 9 off of Phelan and off of Austin where the guy's coming. He's got his steps and had no problem putting the ball by the sideline. So I don't think that was a major factor.
Coach Ross mentioned yesterday that there'll be a lot of open competition at various positions. What are the challenges of doing that in season versus doing that in training camp or even back in spring football?
Yeah, I think that whatever you're playing, what position-wise, whatever sport it is, there's always a competition is driving everyone to perform better. So in my mind, you want guys that are, the guy that's the number 2 is challenging the guy that's the number 1 to take his spot. So when the number 1 guy is practicing or training or playing in the game, he knows he better perform or the guy's going to step up and take his spot. I think when you have a really good team, that's what happens. I think that you're always in competition. And, none of this is written in concrete where, hey, this is the only guy that can play for us because he's the one that started the season. But a lot of the positions, we rotate guys. I know for me, Garrett and Caleb generally start, but Feldarius plays and Damon Jackson plays, and those guys at that defensive end type of position are rotating constantly. So the more they play, the more it breeds competition, and I think that's healthy for everyone.
You guys rotated Daniel and William and Hunter. Was that kind of the plan, or I guess what was maybe the thought or strategy behind it?
Yeah. Really, with you have a right-footed punter and a left-footed punter, so there's some things that go into that, where the ball's going to tail, how it's going to spin. Both guys can kick, to the right and to the left. And then Daniel, obviously, I think his background is his origin, where he came from. He's been a rugby-style kicker his entire life. So having that part of it while he's out there as a weapon, a third phase, if you will, to the right, to the left, and then rugby-style, is a good tool. Will's had a great game a week ago against Oklahoma, put the ball where we needed it to go, and he had a couple punts that weren't great earlier in that game. So that kind of, we used a little bit of both, and we've practiced both those guys. They both run with the one punt team. We'll do our rugby-style rollout punt with Daniel in the game. We'll do our kick to the right, kick to the left with Daniel in the game. We'll do our kick to the right, kick to the left with Will in the game. The guys up front, it doesn't matter to them who the punter is. It's a matter of the punter doing his job. It's not like maybe a position where 5 guys are working together as one. Your O-line is an easy one. That those guys get comfortable making calls or footing or things like that. But with those guys, I think that you drill it, you protect it, and you cover it, regardless whoever the punter is.
What's the message to the rest of the unit then when Scott Frost said that the punt didn't go where it was supposed to go? But what do you tell those other guys in terms of seeing where the ball is?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you look at it, we were trying to isolate the single returner. That once again, it wasn't something that they had surprised on us. They had the same configuration on the first punt of the game. I think everybody knows that. And we were going to try to isolate one of the returners and really, truthfully, put the ball, one specific part of the field. We were kind of in the left middle of the field as we look at it. We could eliminate a large part of the field by going ahead and rolling out and put it in it towards the sideline with some good guys covering down. Looked like some access anyways to that returner on that side of the field. So the guys back on the other side, Feast was the guy that had the ultimate contain. He ended up forcing it back. If Nick just got an eyeball on a little bit sooner, he was the guy that was in the vicinity. Isaac Gifford actually he was down the field very quickly on it and was probably past it. So we got to try to come back, react to it. We get it back inside by Feast. We got to get the rest of the guys coming back, and then Daniel's got to help fix it. Don't let one mistake become 2 by having a poor direction with the kick, and then not being able to go ahead and help us save the day and get them down. At least give the defense a chance.
Scott said yesterday he felt like in the meeting that you had with special teams, you got guys' attention. I guess how did you kind of approach that first kind of meeting back with those guys, and do you feel like you did?
Yeah, hopefully I have their attention all the time. I'd like to think that I do. I think that one of the the quality that the guys respect about me is that I tell them the truth. And we're in a day and age where a lot of times people want you to tell them the truth until it's not their idea of the truth or what they want to hear. Then they don't want to hear it anymore. So, being honest with them and being factual. Also being accountable on my end. Hey, this is why we drilled it. This is what we drilled. These are why we show the tapes. These are why we have the meetings, and this is what happened. I think that the guys appreciate that. I do think that I keep their attention pretty well on a regular basis. I don't think that it's one of those deals where it's an up and down or in and out, certainly. But the guys have a lot of pride, and they are just as angry as everybody else is, as invested or more so than than anyone else. They're the ones that their names on it. Our names are on it, and we're not happy with it. So we addressed it, and we went out and went to work yesterday, just like you always would. Learned it from Coach Spaziani when I worked for him at Boston College. When you lose, the problems are still there. They're magnified when you lose. When you win, probably a lot of the problems are still there. They're just minimized because you won. You feel a little bit better about yourself. So it's a deep dive after each game to find out exactly what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. When you did it wrong and you lost, it's a lot easier to see that sometimes. When you did it wrong and you won, I think sometimes it's easy to gloss things over a little bit. Our deal is we got to be consistent in what we're doing and execute our techniques, fundamentals. And the punt was a bad punt. There was also some plays on there that could have been just as catastrophic if another guy didn't. He just wasn't the specialist. A guy that maybe didn't hold up a guy on a punt return, or make a block on a kickoff return, or be in the correct lane on a kickoff coverage. So everybody's got to be held accountable for the mistakes, not just the catastrophic one that my 13-year-old who doesn't even play football, he knew that it was a bad punt, and he was able to identify that. So I think that doing all of that and holding everyone accountable, and not hey, if the kicker had kicked it and the punter had punted, or those are easy ones. And I think when the guys are held accountable, they want to be better. They don't want you to let them be unsuccessful. That's not what they signed up for. They want to achieve their goals and be successful, and they want to hear it. So I think that's what Coach meant by it.
On punt return, what's the general philosophy on where to field and not field the ball?
Yeah, the general philosophy on punt return is catch the ball. I did a good job of containing myself right there. You got to catch the ball, all right? And the ball has to be caught. It has to be caught cleanly. We can't have it bounce and then bounce off the face mask. We can't have it be short and then not make the return team aware that the ball's coming down. And then we got to catch it. If it's over your head, you got to sprint back to catch it. Obviously not on the freaking inside of the 5-yard line, but when you're not in a dagger, so what we call dagger, a backed up situation where they're kicking in to try to get a pin inside of the 20, you're not aligned at the 8. So maybe you're at the 15 or the 20. You got to run back, field the ball, and then be able to get as much yardage as you can to be able to keep it off of the goal line. And then same thing, if you're in the field, it's over your head, you got to sprint back, be able to catch it. If it's up and it's short, you got to work into traffic with your eyes up, know where you're going on the ball, and be able to catch it. But fielding the ball is the most important part, and fielding the ball is the second most important. The most important part on that unit is finishing the ball with the ball in your possession, handing it to the official. That's we get the ball back and it's in our possession. That's number one. Number two is you got to field it, and then everything else falls after that. Yep. Yeah, the thing I can say and have the utmost conviction with Garrett is he's going to be the hardest working guy on the field. Every practice, every game, every walkthrough. He has embraced that part of it, understanding that it's an all-the-time thing, not just when the lights are on or I want to get rah-rah. He is doing it in the meeting room. He watches film like that, same intensity that you guys see from him when he's running around the field. He does that the same exact way, and I think that's helped him at least in the year and a half since I've been back and working with him directly. I think that's completely changed his game, the way he's been able to take the work ethic. And the other thing, he does a great job, a much better job than when I first got here. He's a sponge and wants you to tell him the truth. Same thing I was kind of talking about with the specialists. Coach, when it's not going, what did I do wrong? How did I mess that up? Where do I need to have my eyes? Instead of going the other way, well, you see, the reason why I didn't do it like that was because, and then there was a story behind it. Now he goes, all right, why didn't I do it right? How do I fix it? And he gets done. So his intensity and attitude towards it, I think, have been reflected in the way he's playing. I think that he still has more production to come. whether it's TFLs or sacks in particular, but getting closer to being the type of rusher. I think he's also doing a better job of keeping the quarterback in the pocket, maybe making him a little bit more uncomfortable, the quarterback being him. Instead of letting that B-gap kind of open up. I think a lot of quarterbacks love that B-gap step up, whether it's to run with a scrambling quarterback or to throw, have a good throwing lane with the guys that want to throw the ball down the field. And Garrett's done a nice job of collapsing that B-gap step up a few times, actually helped him on his sack the other night. So he's doing a good job that way. All right, thank you, guys.